here we are. What you just clicked on is a studio vlog, a very summery studio vlog. And I am using this time to attend to some things I've wanted to make that I have been putting on the back burner, and also to talk about creativity, to talk about making and sharing and not making and not sharing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Maggie and I run a creative studio called Regarding Do, and Regarding Do exists to support creative, sensitive thinkers, maybe like you, in reconnecting to yourself and connecting to your creative desires again or more deeply, and in bringing forth your gifts, your creative gifts, with plenty of tenderness and plenty of boldness and courage. And to do this very thing of noticing when creativity makes it on the back burner and how to bring it into the center of your life, how to exist in this world where all of life is a creative practice. And when I say creativity, I'm not just talking about the formal creative practices that you might or might not hold. I'm talking about your you-ness, the expression of you. And sometimes it comes out by making certain things. Sometimes it comes out by how you speak, how you share, how you move your body, right? How you relate. So I'm talking about creativity in a really broad sense. And my hope, my intention in this video is that something that I say, I don't know what I'm gonna say or what I'm gonna share, something that I say meets you at just the right moment. Maybe it changes something in your perception or unlocks your own little insight, gives you some clarity, normalizes your process a little bit, gives you a direction forward, allows you to be kinder to yourself wherever you're at with your life, with who you are. And that's my intention. And I just invite you, since you're here, you're listening, you're watching, to maybe set the intention to receive maximum benefit from this. So this might look like you taking out your own projects. If you have also been putting your creativity on the back burner, it might look like taking out the knitting, the embroidery, the sketchbook, whatever, and using this time to make some stuff together. Or it might look like just fully relaxing and being present, getting some tea, getting something delicious to drink. I have my water, which I've drunk a lot of this because when I get nervous, I get thirsty. So just get settled and let's get into it. So making and sharing, the reason that I sat down and decided to do this, given all of the resistance, if you've read my work before, if you know me, if you know my work, I am very transparent about visibility being a rocky road, and one that I'm continuously navigating and supporting people in as well, because it's hard to be seen when you're sensitive. It's hard to have your creativity be seen, even if you're extremely extroverted or outgoing or have a lot of confidence in your craft. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's ease in putting yourself out there until it's practice again and again and again. So I'm in that practice, and I was inspired to sit down and do this because I came across an old letter that I sent out through Regarding Do, my creative studio, and it was the third letter that I ever sent out. And I don't have the title up here, but it's called something like Making and Sharing. And so I'm going to read parts of that and give my up-to-date commentary on this. I think I sent it out in 2018 or 2019. We'll see what's there. We'll see if any of those threads are still alive for me, if anything I say speaks to you, of course, and just kind of explore it. Just have a, what I like to say, gentle musings on the topic. Gentle Musings is also a podcast that I have that I am currently recording, but you can listen to the trailer. Anyway, the second thing is a quote by Hermann Hesse, and I'll read this quote right now because it's a good one. So this is what he wrote, quote, "You were made to be yourselves. You were made to enrich the world with a sound, a tone, a shadow. In each one of you, there's a hidden being still in the deep sleep of childhood. Bring it to life. In each one of you, there is a call, a will, an impulse of nature, an impulse toward the future, the new, the higher. Let it mature, let it resound, nurture it. Your future is not this or that. It is not money or power. It is not wisdom or success at your trade. Your future, your hard, dangerous path is this: to mature and to find God in yourselves. I love that quote. And because I know that the G word, it can be repelling, right? This is really one of those instances where if you swap that word out for anything that feels true to you, the essence of what's being communicated stays intact. So I'll just try it right here. Your hard, dangerous path is this: to mature and to find love in yourselves. Your hard, dangerous path is this: to mature and to find truth in yourselves. Your hard, dangerous path is this: to mature and to find safety in yourselves, to find belonging in yourself. Okay, I'm gonna read this one more time. And just take this in case maybe you were distracted the first time or you took it in we just need a second reading. Let's do a second reading. Here's what Hermann Hesse says, not my own words, these are his words. Quote, "You were made to be yourselves. You were made to enrich the world with a sound, a tone, a shadow. In each one of you, there's a hidden being still in the deep sleep of childhood. Bring it to life. In each one of you, there's a call, a will, an impulse of nature, an impulse toward the future, the new, the higher. Let it mature, let it resound. I have goosebumps. Nurture it. Your future is not this or that. It is not money or power. It's not wisdom or success at your trade. Your future, your hard, dangerous path is this: to mature and to find God in yourselves." Isn't that beautiful? I have right under it another quote from Hermann Hesse. If you need to have your cup fill up with wisdom and someone taking a stand for what you're here to bring, just like go toward Hermann Hesse. I mean, he's passed away now, but like go toward his words and his wisdom. So this is a quote that I have right under the other one, also his words. "Every experience has its element of magic." And I love that. And I don't think that that's true either. I don't think that every experience has its element of magic. I can think of plenty that don't. It is true that there is so much that we don't notice, and there's so much. I made a video about delight here, and there's so much delight that we're not even receptive to. There's so much synchronicity and grace that we maybe aren't tuned into and opening to what each experience or what each moment has to offer. It's really powerful. So I'm gonna get into this letter. Honestly, I'm kind of putting it off. Like, I feel like we could just talk about creativity, and I will work on this instead of reading the letter. But I'm going to read the letter actually, and if I don't get to this, that's fine. I never know how long these should be, and I'm someone that can sit down and watch something for a really long time. I actually love long form anything. It seems like, especially in the last couple years, that things are really dividing out into micro short form and 30-minute, like an episode of a video or a podcast, or even longer than 30 minutes. And I lean toward that way, and so I want to make things that also honor that, in thinking that you might also like longer form content, and I hate calling it content, but art, work, creativity, conversation. And I also have no idea how long this is. That's okay. That's okay. I'm avoiding reading this letter. So I'll just do it. So this is something that I wrote when I revisited the letter. wrote this on October 30th, 2019. And this is what I wrote. On October 30th, 2019, I hovered my mouse over the publish button for a solid 10 minutes as I soaked in my inner chorus of doubts. This is how it would go. I'd wait to write something until the waiting felt unbearable. Do you know that? Hesitantly start a new document, get down my initial thoughts while aggressively editing the whole way through, tuck it away and pretend that I didn't have a newsletter to send out, return to it after days or weeks, stare at the hovering cursor and think, this is stupid and pointless. And round it went. 4 years later, my experience of making and sharing is fundamentally more life-giving, and here and there, this pattern still makes an appearance. Being creatively seen churns it all up. And it's one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself and others. Expressing your innate creativity, even when the doubt chorus chimes, is a gift to life. So I just wrote this last week and revisiting the letter. And I want to pause on this here really quick. What I mentioned at the beginning, waiting to write something until it felt unbearable. Let me know. I would love to hear from you, really, as a comment. Let me know if you can relate to this. It might not be writing, it might be something else, but where you wait to that point where it's unbearable and it has to get to that point in order to take action. And something that I found, unfortunately, is sometimes there's not even relief in doing it. Sometimes you can feel worse in actually doing the thing, but you need to write, you need to paint, you need to do whatever you're feeling called to do. There's, as Herman Hesse spoke to, there's a deeper impulse and will and call that's pulling you forward, even if many parts of yourself are screaming and kicking and saying, I don't want to be seen, and I'm not good enough, and this is terrifying, and I need more time, and I need to take another class, all of it, right? If you're in the mud of this, or if it's a pattern that comes up every so often, even as you've grown so much, I would love to hear from you below. This also really normalizes it for everyone else, because I know that this is very common from working with private clients around this very thing, but it can be helpful to also see some hands go up of saying, yeah, I know that, this is normal. This is a normal part of the process, and sometimes it goes on for longer than we think it should, right? This thought of, I'm still dealing with this. This is still a freaking pattern. The magic in that, the magic in having a pattern be so deeply embedded, and this doesn't go for everything, right? The magic in having a pattern that keeps circling back, that you keep revisiting, and I'm using magic because of Hesse's words, but the magic in that is that it gets you to the point where you have to ask for support sometimes. You realize that you're not meant to do it alone or go at this alone. It can foster some of the deepest self-compassion that you can ever experience when it's so gnarly, when it's so deep to have this pattern that keeps recurring. It can soften your presence and outwardly as well humanize the human experience instead of pathologizing the human experience. Like, it's messy, and something that I see again and again with private clients is how much we each need to give ourselves acknowledgement for our willingness to go there, our willingness to look, how much that looking actually does a lot of the work in many cases, acknowledging the grief, acknowledging the pain, acknowledging the direct, immediate experience without interpretation of it, acknowledging that this is something that is real in your experience, and that you can learn to dance with it and to be in relationship to this pattern in different ways. I'm going on a tangent. I want to read this letter to you. I actually do. So here's how it goes. Tara Brock has a quote that settled deep into my mind and hasn't left. Here it is. One of my favorite understandings is that we teach from the radiance of our own discovery. When I can open to the silence and stillness that is here, then words and ideas arise that express that discovery. We teach what is alive for us, and that aliveness is the transmission. Isn't that beautiful? So it inspired me to write a few things, one of which is below, which I'm reading to you right now. And I'm just going to kind of go through this a little bit. There's that old Zooey Deschanel song that says, yes, we all go through it together, and we all go at it alone. And with that, this is what I say. I have been lodged between a stifling conundrum, the desire to make stuff, and the desire to be in a dynamic community of makers. Again, comment below, just say me if you want, like, do you feel this too, the desire to be more creative and also be in a community that actively supports your creativity? This is not the case for most people. I see it all the time where there's an absence of creative encouragement in the people in their life, or there's active discouragement in a lot of different forms. This is so, so common. I wrote this for anyone that feels alone in their creative ventures, anyone that faces sometimes insurmountable feelings of self-doubt in expressing themselves creatively, even just to themselves. Anyone who loves to express themselves creatively but faces self-doubt when it comes to sharing these expressions with others. This was the case for me for so long, and still comes up. And anyone that yearns to experience an expanded sense of community, and one that celebrates creativity as the norm. Your creativity is human and it's needed. I hope you hear me in this, no matter, and maybe especially if you're a beginner. If you want to read this whole letter, I have this up through the Regarding Do letters, which is regardingdo.substack.com. And if you go there, I encourage you to subscribe because you'll get a special email when you do subscribe. My camera died right before starting this reading the letter, and so I started to make this little beauty. I got the wireframe down. Also, this is a really funny experience to read something from almost 4 years ago. Okay, as the main place for sharing creativity online for myself and for the creativity that I consume, social media gets me all frazzled and spilled out when I'm in this place. I don't know what place I was talking about, but in general, it gets me frazzled and spilled out. The most substantially helpful move I found is get analog. Brainstorm ideas on paper instead of a document on the computer if possible, whether in a sanctioned journal or a huge piece of paper. I find that more ideas surface when I'm not tethered to the internet. Okay, something to say about getting analog. This is a very obvious piece of advice, and it works when you do it. It's one of those things of remembering and returning to it. Really working out ideas in a journal, getting a giant piece of paper, getting craft paper, getting construction paper, getting flashcards, whatever you need to, as I say here, make while you're not tethered to the internet. This is something I could go on about, which I'm not going to do right now, but how using the computer not just as a tool, but as the full kind of hub or place of where you might interact with your creativity changes your thinking process. The very obvious kind of example of this is if you notice your experience and your output when you write versus when you write in analog versus when you write into a Word document or an email draft, or on a sticky if you have that app, if you have a Mac, on a post-it thing, or a text edit, anything like that. It impacts the experience of creativity. For me, it impacts the ways that I think, even just simply in the pace at which you can capture ideas, and how the lack of slowing down or the ability to delete impacts what you make and how you feel about it. So I won't go on about that, but set the intention to let yourself flow in the current of your own creativity. As John O'Donohue wrote, quote, "I would love to live like a river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding." It's like that. The outcome is kind of irrelevant. The audience, what's that? Make without destination, just for the hell of it. And if doubts of how it will be received creeps in, what will people think? Does anyone care? Does this even matter? They don't need to be pushed away. Just reassure that you'll focus on that later. In other words, it can be part of your experience, but it doesn't have to be the whole of it. You don't have to take marching orders from those thoughts that generally gravitate toward fear. For now, it's you and the current. And I wrote another longer letter about staying in the current of creativity. And you can find that also in the Regarding Do letters if that interests you. That one I really recommend checking out. This is an opportunity to delight in your own presence. How often do we delight in our own presence? Like, I know I don't do that enough. What does it feel like to make something for your younger self, for example? And what about making things for loved ones as a surprise gesture? How does that feel for you to give and to be generous in that way without attachment? Part 2 is all about sharing. I wrote here, you gotta share when you wanna share. And I'm not gonna sing that right now. What feels best here? Does sharing look like putting your work on display in your home, gifting it to a friend, performing at an event, putting it out on social media even? Different seasons call for different sharing, and there's nothing wrong with sitting on projects. It can be uncomfortable to not share when you do have that deep yearning to share as well. But if you sense that it's not the time for that, that's okay. And even if you sense that it is the time for that and you're still not moving forward, just to not make yourself bad for that at all. This is a really natural thing to do because it is vulnerable, putting yourself out there, as I shared in the beginning. And I want to highlight this question that I asked here. What feels best here? Using your enthusiasm, your interest, what's lighting you up. Sometimes we have these ideas of what sharing our work looks like, even a successful, reception of our work looks like, and can hold on to that very tightly, these ideas, without investigating them and seeing if they really are your true desire, or if it's something that you're carrying with for other reasons. So just checking in with what feels best for you in terms of sharing, but also listening to your own work, listening to your creative practice, listening to your creativity, to tune into how it wants to be shared, how it wants to be expressed, because it might look different than we think, right? Okay, so now we're going to get into the mud of it, I say. What belief are you believing about this challenge when it comes to sharing? Just being on your own thoughts around what beliefs are swirling around, remembering that sometimes it's also hard to decipher what is a belief and what feels true. Another way to look at this is what's behind the block or discomfort, just with a gentle investigation. And I say here, which you can use as a good luck charm or a token to carry with you: I belong here, I am welcome here, I am free to be me. It's technically I'm free to be myself, but this sounds better. I belong here, I am welcome here, I am free to be me. If you're feeling so daunted by sharing your creativity, again, even to yourself, expressing it, seeing it on the page, seeing it in form, knowing that you might not be happy with it, you might have mess ups and whatever, and it's going to take time to even try the first attempt. Seeing what this statement feels like for you to try on. I belong here, I am welcome here, and I'm free to be me. Free to be myself. In the words of Emile Zola, if you ask me what I came to do in this world, I, an artist, will answer you. I am here to live out loud. I love that. Here's to living out loud. This is why I show up. This is why I do what I do. I'm intensely grateful for your attention and care. If you enjoyed this, letting me know with a like or sharing it with a friend that might benefit from it, or commenting below, finding me over at the Regarding Do letters lets me know that you are also receiving my creativity. This is the very stuff that I support private clients with through creative mentorship. And so for the next 72 hours, when you look at when this was posted, I've opened up 3 spots for about a 40-minute complimentary session with me where we'll dive into looking at where your creative blocks are, your creative desires, where you're looking to go, what the patterns are, and what your next steps might be. And only if it's a fit to work together will I invite you to explore the possibility of private support. So you can find all that information below, and there's only 3 spots open. So make sure that you grab that if you're called to. All right, that's what I got for today. I'm gonna keep on working on my crown and drinking my water because I need to drink more water with this heat. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and we'll connect soon. Bye.